Illuminati card game. This game is now out of print, but originally showed up sometimes in the 90s and is called Illuminati New World Order. Despite the years it's been since the game's release, it has managed to continue to attract people's interest and honestly creates a bit of a feeling of unease due to its eerie predictions.
And then the biggest one of those all, a quarantine card. That is crazy. And alongside that, it's coupled with like a population reduction card.
The game seemingly predicted many major events, from 9/11 to former President Trump's election to the pandemic and even apparently the riot at Capitol Hill.
So obviously the game is centered around conspiracies and things like that, but the thing here is these conspiracies from 1995 weren't relevant or anything at all until modern days.
My name's Mr. Alan C., and all the cards you're about to see in this video were created and printed in either 1994 or 1995. These are the original decks. We're going to reveal over 110 cards in brilliant HD resolution.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. We're looking at a live picture from Washington, and there is smoke pouring out of the Pentagon. Reporting that an American Airlines plane was hijacked, that a United Airlines plane was hijacked. We understand now there has been a secondary explosion on Tower 2. With that, we will leave you and turn it over to Dan Rather.
This is CBS News continuing live coverage of the apparent terrorist attacks today here in New York City and in Washington, D.C.
So we're going to see some of what our witnesses saw on January 6th.
That's not an invasion.
Honestly, I think you should let me run the country. You run CNN.
All right.
And if you did it well, your ratings
Let me
would be
ask,
much
if
better.
I may ask
that's
one other
enough.
question, Mr. President, if I may ask
Peter,
one other
go ahead.
question, are you worried?
That's enough. And we will say enough is enough. That's
Mr.
enough.
President,
That's
I was going to
enough.
ask one of the other folks.
That's enough.
Pardon me, ma'am. Mr.
Excuse me.
President,
That's enough.
Mr. President, I have one other
Peter,
question,
let's
if
go.
I may ask, on the Russia investigation.
It started with what turned out to be a bogus news story suggesting that Bill and Hillary Clinton were running a sex ring out of a Washington, D.C. pizza parlor. The whole thing turned truly frightening when a man showed up at that pizza parlor with a gun 2 weeks ago demanding to know more. And now this has become the center of a national debate over fake news. James Alefantis, the owner of the pizzeria, is talking for the first time. He is here on set with me in moments.
The rumors spread, inspiring some newfound internet sleuths to start digging around in John Podesta's hacked emails, searching for proof and location of the so-called sex ring. What they found were numerous references to pizza, a term Urban Dictionary says is slang for child pornography. So somehow they concluded that Podesta and company were speaking in code.
Quick point of privilege. Quick point of personal privilege.
Yes.
Guys, first of all, James Jackson, Sacramento, he, him.
Name, chapter, pronoun.
Privilege. Point of personal privilege.
Yes.
Please do not use gendered language to address everyone.
And thanks for joining us. The World Health Organization has now confirmed what many epidemiologists have been saying for weeks. The coronavirus is a pandemic. There are now more than 120,000 known cases in 114 countries. But it's not the word pandemic we should focus on, says the WHO. It's preparation, public health, and political leadership. Because all experts agree this is going to get worse.
Hey, what's up, everybody? So welcome to another episode of Tales from the Fallen World with Tim and Amber. And if you can't tell, I don't have Amber with me right now, which is really too bad. You see, she is driving back from the airport in Chicago. We've told you guys before that she has a daughter from outside of our relationship and our marriage, of whom I'm her stepdad. she is coming to spend some time here with us at our house. So they're going to be popping in a little later. Hopefully Amber will be able to join us. So don't be too surprised with all the commotion when they get home, because the older kids are up right now and they're waiting for Willow to get here because, you know, obviously they love her and they're really excited for her to get here. So I'm going to do the best I can to manage keeping this show going when that occurs. And hopefully Amber will be able to join us. Really quick, I apologize for the confusion on YouTube. I feel like I have to start too many shows this way, but I don't understand what happened. I scheduled the show for 10:30 like always, my time, Central. But for whatever reason, YouTube had it posted for an hour later. And I tried to repost the stream a few times. There was nothing I could do to correct that. So I fear that right now, you know, we don't have the most people on the stream. And I think there was a lot of confusion about the timing. So, you know, I'm still trying to figure this stuff out. So with all that said, tonight we're going to be hopefully concluding. Honestly, we might have to do 1/3 episode after this, to be honest. But you know, our last live stream, our last Tales from the Fallen World, we covered the Illuminati card game from 1995, Steve Jackson's famous, or I guess maybe I should say infamous, card game. You know, which included all these kind of, you know, creepy cards that had things like martial law and pandemic, and you know, cards that depicted the Twin Towers being knocked down or the Pentagon on fire. Things that have since come to pass that were present, you know, in these cards on this card game that came out in 1995. And last 2 weeks ago, we really got into depth about this, got into the origins of it, which I might touch on a little bit tonight. But if you really want the context of the origins of this card game when we get into it, because if you don't know about this, you're going to be pretty intrigued. If you do know about it, I'm sure you already are intrigued. But yeah, I definitely suggest, if you're interested in the topic, going back and watching the first episode, just called Illuminati Card Game or whatever the heck it was called. I'm going to just assume you guys have seen that, or just leave it to you to go back and watch that. And we're just going to kind of pick up where we left off. And where we left off was after getting into the origin of this card game, which again, you know, it's a deck of, I think there's like 500 some cards in all, right? And it's kind of like a Magic the Gathering or Pokemon kind of deal, you know, where you would get these decks of Illuminati cards, however many came in a deck, I'm not sure. And, you know, you would get these random cards, and each card would represent some type of conspiracy-based event, you know, like a robot takeover, or like a zombie apocalypse, or, you know, World War III, or these kinds of things, right? And then I've never played the game, but I guess it's just kind of like you have your deck based on your conspiracy cards, and then you get to use those, whatever. It's a game, right? But through the years, that was 1995, you know. So what is that? You know, 2005, 15. So we're talking about almost 30 years ago this game came out. And the cards were printed, by the way, possibly as early as 1990 or the late 1980s originally. Well, in the time that's come to pass, so many of these cards and so many of the illustrations that, you know, are depicted in these cards point to current situations, particularly since the pandemic has started. And this has been something that's been really popular in the truther community for a long time, you know, just kind of a fun thing to visit. But last time we had the show, I wasn't able to get through too many cards at all, because these spawn so many conversations, as you're going to see when we get into this. So we weren't really able to complete everything. So the purpose of this show, I'm hoping just to get through a bunch more cards. Like I already prefaced, we might end up having to do a third show, but I really want to close out this topic so we can get on, you know, to more pertinent things. But I also didn't want to leave it hanging, and I didn't believe that I'd ever get back to it if I didn't just finish it up with the next episode. So that's what we're doing tonight. So as we wait for Amber to maybe get here, I want to share something with you guys before we get into this. You know, this show has been heavily promoting an upcoming movie called The End of Youth. Actually, I believe it's called End of Youth, no the at the beginning. And for those of you who watch the show, you've been following the production of this movie right alongside of us. The trailer is available on this channel. The link to the production company that's producing this movie is actually currently in the description. Okay, but we've been updating you on the progress of this movie. My cousin Curtis is actually, I don't want to use the term stars, you know, but he's an actor that plays a prominent role in this movie. And it's an end times movie. I'm not going to sit there and describe it all to you guys, but I came across on their YouTube a promotional video that they came for it that I hadn't showed you guys yet. And this one actually stars my cousin, Curtis McGann. So I wanted to share it with you guys. It's too bad Amber's not here. I wanted her to see it too, but I suppose she will on the replay. So I want you guys to check this out first, and then we'll get into the action.
But he that endures until the end shall be saved. The verse from the book of Matthew chapter 24 has been the tagline for End of Youth since the concept phase. The verse is a powerful and timeless reminder that to be a Christian in this life means one thing for certain: persecution. How can a God that is all loving allow for his children to be persecuted? Why would God put his church through a time of tribulation, as Matthew chapter 24 says? Perhaps these questions have crossed your mind recently. You probably experienced restrictions on your faith. You know what it's like to be told you can't gather, you can't worship. And if you're a leader in the church, you might have experienced some sort of censorship. If you live in the United States, it sure might feel like the end times are happening around you right now. But the reality is, all across the globe and throughout time, Christians have been persecuted for their beliefs since the very day Jesus set foot on this earth. So where's the silver lining? Where's the saving grace in all of this? Isn't the gospel supposed to be good news? Absolutely. It's in the testimonies of countless men, women, and children that have faced persecution and tribulation throughout time and history that we can see what true faith looks like. My name is Curtis McGann, one of the cast members of End of Youth. End of Youth is a film that aims to share the essence of these testimonies, filmed with perseverance, strength, courage, and defiance, even in the face of death, for the belief in the name of Jesus. We know that no film could ever truly capture the reality of the horrors that believers have suffered at the hands of regimes throughout history. We simply want to create an original movie that pays tribute to the countless families that have and continue to face persecution for their faith, igniting conversations among the audience about their freedoms, while also paying homage to the end times films that laid the groundwork for the genre, and then release it online for free. We believe in the end times genre as a perfect backdrop for powerful stories, complex characters, and historical and contemporary themes and topics, while delivering a gritty and thrilling experience to the audience. We see End of Youth as the first of many stories that take place in the same world, introducing new characters and storylines with every film. We are inspired by the possibilities and the potential impact that End of Youth can have on audiences across the world. So what's the catch? Where's our pitch? Our goal is to simply raise awareness of End of Youth, hoping you can see what we see and that you will subscribe to our YouTube channel. Partner with us to create content for like-minded audiences and join the End of Youth movement. All it takes is a tap on our subscribe button and keeping up with our content. That's all. If you have questions about this project or want to find ways to get involved, contact us at endofyouth.org. We look forward to collaborating and growing with you.
Yeah, guys, so please feel free to visit that link in the description or go to endofyouth.org, as that thing just said. And, you know, it takes a lot of money and work and time and resources to produce a movie, like I keep saying. And I've just decided to, you know, rally up my small audience here to try to get behind this thing. As you just saw, they're trying to kind of like push this End of Youth movie into more of a, you know, a series eventually, if possible. And I would like for us to be involved if that's possible. So, with all that said, here we are getting into, let's see here. Okay. The Illuminati #2. Yeah, so for everybody that caught this on the other stream, it was a really good time. These cards ended up spawning so many conversations that, like I said earlier, we weren't able to get through too much. But everybody in the comments seemed to want to do another episode of it. So that's what we're doing right now. And I've noticed I don't see anybody in the comments right now. I see people popping in and out, but hop on the live chat and say hi. You know, it's a lot better when Amber's here to be able to cover that, but she'll be here. But anyways, okay, so the Illuminati card game. And here's a couple decks down here. This is what it looks like when you get your single decks. This is the box right here. And it's Steve Jackson Games. And I'm going to blow through this because we already have been through it. But, you know, Steve Jackson, who created the games, or the game, I mean to say, you know, there's for whatever reason, there's like this lore that's associated with this game when it comes to the truther community, where a lot of people who haven't done their due diligence, and like a large section of the community, people that again haven't really researched, they treat this this old game from 1995 as if it's some type of like tarot card deck or something, you know. And the creepy fact that so many of these cards have, you know, come to pass and these predictions have turned out to be accurate, which is creepy, has kind of led a large subset of the conspiracy community, you know, to treat these cards like there's some type of supernatural oracle or something like that. So we made a big point in the last episode to kind of get into what, you know, the origins of this game and Steve Jackson Games and who Steve Jackson is. And Steve Jackson is a game designer, and his game company, they make all types of games similar to this, you know, card-based games, board games. And for whatever reason, there actually are quite a few games that are produced by this company that relate to like the New World Order topic and to the Illuminati stuff. And Steve Jackson, as we got into last time, turns out to be a pretty mysterious figure that's kind of hard to really research and find a lot of information about, right? And we got into, you know, I think I'm going to do it right here. And I'm just, again, I'm skimming through this because I want you guys to watch the last episode if you haven't, but just to catch you up to it. You know, apart from his games, like I said, it's hard to really research much about this Steve Jackson guy. Apart from that, he's like a game aficionado. His company was raided by the FBI. And I think it was 1990, which is pretty interesting because the Illuminati game coming out in 1995, right? And it's not every day that a gaming company gets raided by the FBI. This was big news. It was big headlines all over the newspapers at the time. And Steve Jackson, as a result, ended up becoming some type of like, you know, internet anti-censorship guru kind of, you know, pioneer guy. Well, I mean, if you look into Steve Jackson, you're going to find more stuff related to the court case from when he was raided by the FBI. But what's interesting is if you read those papers, and we did get into this on the last episode, when the FBI raided his studio or his game studio in 1990, I think it was, it was because they created something called, I think it was the GURPS, GURPS system, right? It's a role-playing system, a gaming system. And it ended up being the prototype, which became Special. If anybody's familiar with the Fallout game series, you know, and it uses this system called Special. Well, that was based off of the GURPS system, right? That was created by Steve Jackson Games. It was this cyberpunk-based RPG system. Whatever that means, I don't know. And the FBI raided them because the person behind this GURPS was some type of hacker, right? And that was supposedly their inside leak. Well, in all the paperwork that came out regarding this FBI raid, it was present that they had also seized the original BBS of the Illuminati game, right? So the Illuminati game that we're discussing was already in production in 1990. And the FBI like literally raided this studio, took this information, like just tore the place up, you know. It's just kind of interesting, right? So anyways, beyond all that, so that's Steve Jackson, but you can't really find much about his personality, right? What we do know is that his company published this book, Principia Discordia, which we talked about last time as well. And Principia Discordia is based off of, and I'm forgetting the name of the original book that this whole thing's based off of. But what it is, it's like it's making fun of religion. It's one of these like parody religion books. Like the example I came up with before is, you know, like the flying spaghetti monster kind of thing. And it even says right here, how I found the goddess and what I did to her when I found her. And there's even an Illuminati card about Principia Discordia. Well, this is a book that was published. Steve Jackson didn't actually write. Okay, his company republished it. But he certainly prescribes to this attitude when it comes to, you know, life and the big picture of things, and certainly faith in God and religion. The Principia Discordia is just kind of a mockery and a parody of religion, right? And Steve Jackson, if you take the time to read into what is available about him and the interviews that he's done, he's just clearly one of these like intellectual atheist kind of, you know, God deniers, right? The reason that this is important is because, again, with so many truthers for so long, publishing videos showing these cards or writing articles about these cards, and and treating this, this deck like it's some kind of mysterious oracle. Again, like you can find YouTube videos right now where people will be talking about like, I don't know anything about who Steve Jackson or who's behind these cards, but he must be some high ranking. And the fact is he might be some high ranking Freemason, but that's not my point. My point is it's just such a lack of due diligence when it comes to the truther community and this stuff, which is one reason I wanted to cover this topic myself, just because it, even though it's hard to find info on this guy, it is not hard to establish the origins of this game and to understand it in the context of what it is. And one last thing before I keep going through with this slideshow is, and the last point I wanted to cover that we went through on our previous episode is this. Everything practically outside of some political stuff, which was easy to predict, and this isn't to diminish how creepy and cool, and accurate these predictions are in a lot of these cards. But so many of these cards that are blowing people's minds these days, particularly in the secular world, that are just seeing this for the first time now that we're in the pandemic world, and so many people have kind of opened their eyes to this type of thing. Like so many people, the cards that are blowing their minds the most are these ones where they're like, how's a better way to articulate what I'm trying to say here? These people are treating these predictions as if they're prophecies. Like, wow, like imagine like how brilliant whoever came up with this card is, or what did they know? Did they have a crystal ball or something, or are they an inside guy? And we were trying to make the point, pointing to all these, the kind of craziest ones of how they're really just illustrations of existing Bible prophecies, right? As well as long existing conspiracy theories. So it's not like this game actually really predicted anything. This game was presenting existing conspiracy theories as well as existing Bible prophecies, putting art to it, putting it on these cards, and only now with all this stuff unfolding as the Antichrist kingdom is being established around us, are these things starting to happen. So people that are outside of the know are looking at these cards and, just having their paradigms rattled over it. But then this has been, again, the cards came out in 1995. So it was like, even in the early 2000s, with some of these cards depicting things like the Twin Towers being struck, and things like that, that was like the first big surge of people being blown away by these cards. And I remember, man, it was a long time ago I first learned about these things. But I know I'm really ranting here. This is where it would have been nice to have oh, here we go. Hi, Tim. We'll be home soon. Oh, you guys see this? You guys are talking. Check this out. Here's Amber, guys. She says we'll be home soon. That's good to hear, you guys. I'm not the same without my wife and my co-host on here. All right, buddy. Thanks, Pepe and HK. Okay, so good. People are starting to file in. So I just went on a rant. Let's just keep going. Okay, so I was just discussing this. Okay, so these are some of your most obvious ones, but what really blew this whole topic of this card game up, on the scene, were these two cards really to start things off. Okay, it was obviously September 11th of 2001 when the Twin Towers were struck by airplanes, right? And then something hit the Pentagon, right? And you just see these pictures. Okay, now again, it was in 1995 that these cards came out. You got terrorist nuke. And it's interesting too. I just grabbed this picture, but look at the placement of the explosion, right? I mean, it's pretty uncanny, for this. And this came out, 6 years before the event. Okay, and the same with the Pentagon. I mean, it almost looks like, this is just a drawing taken right from the picture. So people were really blown away by this, because it was like, yeah, it's easy to predict that there's going to be terrorism, and now, mind you, the Twin Towers also, I think it was in 1993 that there was a terrorist attack, like bombs that were planted in the basement or whatever. So there's already a history and a context for the Twin Towers having terrorism attached to it. But again, just look at this picture, man. So there you go. And here was another one shortly. This was like 2010, I think, the BP oil spill. I'm still just introducing you guys to what really got this buzz going. And we weren't able to get into these in the last one. But you guys remember this oil spill? You don't really hear much about it now. Another one I wanted to stick on this slide was a card that shows a nuclear power plant that's cracked or something. It's called Nuclear Accident. And I wanted to show newspaper articles of the Fukushima thing. In both cases, if you don't remember this, it was 2010. There was a big BP oil spill. BP as in the British Petroleum Oil Company, like that's who was blamed for it, or they did it. I don't remember, but there was a giant oil spill. And look at this card, you got this bird that's just covered in the oil. And this was kind of famous. Here's just a picture I took. You can find these yourself if you just look up the BP oil spill. You'll just find tons of pictures of these birds that look exactly like the one out of the card. And I was reading up on it, and even if you look this up yourself, look up the oil spill and set it for like the last year, and you'll read a lot of articles about how even to this day, wildlife, and water life, water-based life, I don't know what you call it right now, is still affected by this oil spill, and that's why I wanted to include the Fukushima thing, because if you didn't know, we got all this like nuclear radiation in the water, and that was years ago too. And it was news at the time that all these, fish and sea life were being affected and mutating and stuff. And you don't really hear about it now. But neither of those events either went away. But regardless, here were some of the first cards that got people really talking about this Illuminati game. I put this one you see over on the far right, I guess, on the last presentation. But this one gets me, man, because it's, again, the game's from 1995, and you got these political correctness, okay? And the dude on the left is being hung because he used an insensitive pronoun. Yeah, we talked about this before, so I don't want to be a broken record here, but even since then, I continue to think about it. I'm 36 years old. So in 1995, I was 10. But I do, I grew up in these times, and it's just like, I don't remember the whole pronoun thing really becoming an issue until like really modern times, honestly. And, yeah, it was a thing then, there was still like the it wasn't called LGBTQ then, but there was still like the gay agenda, this liberal agenda like I have in the middle. But yeah, that strikes me as pretty darn prophetic and predictive, man. They used insensitive pronouns. And we also commented on the ate flesh of dead animals because, you'd be foolish to not understand that that's going to be coming next, like it's already here between the impossible meats and the impossible burgers and the plant-based meats and all this, and the Bill Gates trying to get us to eat bugs, and the soylent, soy, you get it. Like that's going to be another thing they're pushing. And then liberal agenda. I mean, obviously back in 1995, you still had your liberal agenda, but here we are in the pandemic where this liberal agenda that in the time of 1995 was included in a conspiracy-based game, right? Because there still wasn't enough like blatant, right in your face evidence that it existed. In 1995, the general consensus was still that, yeah, well, CNN is fair and balanced, or Fox is fair, whatever the mainstream. There was still the concept, the notion was still thriving that you actually had these two sides, or even more sides that were actually represented in the media and in government, and that the liberals had their agenda, but it wasn't real. I'm just saying. So here we are in 2022. And like even your most liberal person will admit to you that we are now like engaged, in this liberal agenda. They might say it's a good thing, but no one can deny it's happening. And then on the left was the kinder and gentler. Just kind of reminded me of the used insensitive pronouns thing. Like, how about safe spaces, And again, it's 1995 that this came out. It was drawn earlier, and security, quiet, please. So yeah, it just reminds me of the whole safe space thing. Here's something that I wanted to put a bunch of articles in, and I ran out of time, as I always do, because, until I can figure out a way to bring in a higher income, I got to continue working these long shifts at my day job. And so I cram as much time as I can into these presentations, but I end up never being able to get as much as I'd like. But you'll see here, Reformed Church of Satan, bingo every Friday, and this casualization of Satanism, daycare centers, and you got this witch with the pentagram on the chalkboard and all these kids sitting around, in some kind of like seance ritual thing. And well, this is obviously significant. Of course, Satanism existed in the mid-90s, and man, it really would have been good to have these articles. But, we've even done previous shows about it. You have the After School Satan Club, recently the United States Army. Look this up yourself. I'm just going to paraphrase it, but you can fact check me if you want. But they actually used the Church of Satan as an example of like what we should strive to be. I mean, I might have to just have Amber pull that up when she gets here. But there was that documentary. As far as that army thing goes, let me pull it up before I end up saying something wrong. It's crazy. I'm gonna look it up. but you had the Hail Satan documentary that was all big and that was, praised by the mainstream media. And you just see this normalization of Satanism, the show Lucifer, and perhaps, again, in the 1990s, Nirvana was big. And I understand that, you could have those times easily predicted, not to mention just if you're a Christian and if you understand that like eventually the Antichrist is going to be the ruler of this world, then of course Satanism is going to be normalized. But man, can you guys believe like where it's at right now and how bad that's actually gotten? And then I wanted to read you guys this before we go into our first little break here. Now, this is pretty long. I haven't decided if I'm going to read you the whole thing, but I think I just might. It might be enough to even get this live stream blocked in real time, but it shouldn't. I'm going to read it verbatim the way this fellow, Michael Swift, wrote it, okay? And so this is, so I'm not going to interject any of my own opinions while reading it, and therefore I don't think I should be censored in any way because, but gay activists, existed in the 90s. Again, we compare it to how things are now, and it's crazy. But here you go. Homosexual manifesto, reprinted from the U.S. Congressional Record. Now, this was written by Michael Swift, quote unquote, gay revolutionary, and it was published in the Gay Community News February 15th through the 21st. I guess that was like the periodical of 1987. And this is, apparently they say it's, I want to use the word parody, but it's not parody. What do you call it when? What do you call it? I'm gonna have to get back to that. Okay, we shall sodomize your sons, emblems of your feeble masculinity, of your shallow dreams and vulgar lies. We shall seduce them in your schools, in your dormitories, in your gymnasiums, in your locker rooms, in your sports arenas, in your seminaries, in your youth groups, in your movie theater bathrooms, in your army bunkhouses, in your truck stops, in your mail clubs, in your houses of Congress, wherever men are with men together. Your sons shall become our minions to do our bidding. They will be recast in our image. They will come to crave and adore us. Women, you cry for freedom. You say you are no longer satisfied with men. They make you unhappy. We, connoisseurs of the masculine face, the masculine physique, shall take your men from you then. We will amuse them. We will instruct them. We will embrace them when they weep. Women, you say you wish to live with each other instead of men. Then go and be with each other. We shall give your men pleasures they have never known, because we are foremost men too. And only one man knows how to truly please another man. Only one man can understand the depth and feeling, the mind and body of another man. All laws banning homosexual activity will be revoked. Instead, legislation shall be passed which engenders love between men. Again, this is from 1987. All homosexuals must stand together and as brothers. We must be united artistically, philosophically, socially, politically, and financially. We will triumph only when we present a common face to the vicious heterosexual enemy. If you dare to cry, can I say that word? F-A-G-G-O-T, pile of sticks, fairy queer at us, we will stab you in your cowardly hearts and defile your dead, puny bodies. All homosexuals must stand together as brothers. We must, I already wrote that. We shall write poems of the love between men. We shall stage plays in which men openly caress man. And that's just turn on the TV. We shall make films about the love between heroic men, which will replace the cheap, superficial, sentimental, insipid, juvenile, heterosexual infatuations presently dominating your cinema screens. We shall sculpt statues of beautiful young men, of bold athletes, which will be placed in your parks, your squares, your plazas. The museums of the world will be filled only with paintings of graceful, naked lads. Our writers and our artists will make love between men fashionable, and some French word. And we will succeed because we are adept at setting styles. 2022, man, right? Dude, this Queer Eye for the Straight guy is big. Like they designed culture now. We will eliminate heterosexual liaisons through uses of the devices of wit and ridicule, devices which we are skilled in employing. Okay, final little part right here. Actually, I think it goes on even longer. I'm not going to read this whole thing. You guys can finish it yourself. Look up Michael Swift's disgusting. It's called the Homosexual Manifesto. And listen, maybe I'm sure there's a lot of gay people out there that would read this and say, well, I don't like this and that wouldn't espouse to this. I know, in fact, that there are. Okay, so, I'm not necessarily condemning you based on these words. Homosexuality is a sin against God. The Bible couldn't be more clear about that. But the bigger problem and the bigger thing we're highlighting here is these gay activists and this LGBT, this gay agenda, right? What happens in a generation where everybody goes gay? No children are born. Right. And it kind of reminds me of so there's so many different angles to this, but there's one of them, your population control, how many kids are not born due to abortion. Right. Well, how many kids are not born due to their parents not being able to reproduce? You got to put in here freaking the Mondays. And again, by the way, I just don't want to. That's such a big topic. I will take it on. We'll get into this one of these days. But I'm almost sure that live stream will be banned, but it's important, obviously. But freaking the Mondays, every generation has had its, rebellious fashions. And so there's really nothing too new with that. Look at this picture on the card, this guy with the ridiculous, he's got his face all pierced up and these crazy tattoos. Now, mind you, I used to have a lip ring. I had my ears pierced. My nose was pierced. Got a big old tattoo on my chest. Amber's got the plugs, and so I come from this generation too. And it's not, I don't stand in judgment over people that have tattoos. On the other hand, one thing that I've always thought for as long as I've been awake has been if you were to go back in the 1990s and 80s, this being a representation of that, and just imagine what will it actually look like in the end times, in a satanic society. And what you envision is, everybody's going to have mohawks and black hair and going to be covered in tattoos, and they'll celebrate and they'll worship death. That's the way the Bible kind of makes it seem that it would be as far as culture goes. And well, sure enough, you look around today and you don't even realize it. It happens so gradually, but dude, I used to work at the mall and I would see old ladies, with little skulls and crossbones all over their shirts, and everything is just skulls and crossbones and black and dyed hair and tattoos all over. And look at these celebrity guys over here, when it says freaking the mundanes, I think I said Mondays before, but the mundanes, the regular people, taking on these crazy freakish fashion trends. Okay. Now, obviously, you'll say, these are celebrities. These aren't just everyday people. Well, everyday people are conditioned to their concept of of normalcy is based on what's demonstrated by the celebrated people. Come on, you guys, that. Oh, Tim, play that thing for End of Youth now. Well, I already played the thing for End of Youth. I already played that thing, so I can't do that. But you know what I can do is I could take a quick break for a word from our sponsor. You guys saw yourself in the chats. I don't got anyone really in chats. I guess it works out because I don't have Amber here to talk with you guys anyways. But listen, we will do a quick little word from our sponsor now that we finally have a sponsor. The channel's growing. We're getting real big. We got our first sponsor now. And so, yeah, we'll be right back after this quick.
The world is full of places to explore and things to discover. There's truly so much to see. But unfortunately, we are sometimes forced to see things that we don't like, people that we do not agree with, facts that we refuse to accept. A recent study shows that over 90% of adults who have viewed offensive materials have experienced hurt feelings. But not anymore. Introducing Sight Shield, the first and only set of glasses designed to protect your eyes from bigotry and misinformation. Thanks to Sight Shield's patented Boo-Hoo Block technology, you can now live in peace, safely hidden from everything going on around you. Here's how it works. We take an ordinary pair of sunglasses and we apply not one, not two, but 10 layers of window tint to the lenses, making it nearly impossible to see what's clearly right in front of you. This ensures that your eyes will always remain covered, even in the most bigoted and triggering environments. And here's the best part. If you order your set of Sight Shield glasses within the next 48 hours, we'll throw in a pair of our famous Fear Plug earplugs absolutely free. Now you can protect your eyes and ears from reality simultaneously. So what are you waiting for? Order yours today. Sight Shield, a proud sponsor of Fallen World Films.
All right, guys. So yeah, definitely get your Sight Shield glasses. Because every order that you get of Sight Shield, a little bit of that will go to us. I know I've been enjoying mine. I also got it quick, so I got the Fear plugs as well. So I like to just sit back. I just pop on CNN, put on my Sight Shields, throw in my Fear plugs. Not a care in the world. I could turn the volume. I could turn Brian Seltzer all the way up to 30 or whatever. And it doesn't even bother me. So it's a great product. And I can say from experience, it really works. So Amber just got back with Willow. They are home. So we're really happy about that. I'm glad that she kind of came back when that was playing. Actually, it worked out pretty good. Did you want to say hi to the people really quick before I move on, babe? Or not so much?
Yeah, I'll say hi.
She wants to say hi, but you got to get your face in here the right way because of the whole blur thing.
Change Elliot's diaper.
That's all right. She's got to change Elliot's diaper. See, guys, I told you she'd be back. Amber,
Hey guys.
Yeah, I'm just it's going good, but I'm kind of just doggy paddling without you. And as you see, I don't got much action here in these comments. Now, normally Amber mans these comments and keeps things going really live for us, but
I just got back from Chicago.
that's right. And we got Willow here with us now. You want to say hi? You got to get your face. There's this blurry thing, so you got to like put your face somewhere around here to where it's not blurry. Oh, wait, there she is, guys. There's Willow. Everybody say hi, Willow. Just made it in safe from Colorado.
Hi.
We're doing the live show. So yeah, we're really excited that Willow's here. And we're really glad that Lola's sleeping. Well, I didn't talk about that. Yeah, I'm gonna get back into the show, but hopefully Amber can come join us in a little while. We definitely got some stuff to get into with you guys. But back, where are we? Let's get back to this. Nope, not like that. Like this. Okay. All right. So more stuff moving on. But back in 1995, there wasn't any. It wasn't that unusual to predict that in the future there would be some type of martial law, like the martial law conspiracy. The martial law is as connected to these New World Order conspiracy theories as anything could possibly be, because it's like the very nature of a totalitarian takeover, right? That the government would literally enforce these rules with martial law. But again, these happen to be a little series, and there's more cards similar to this in the deck. But these are more of the ones that, here in 2022, people that haven't been following this stuff all these years, they're seeing these and getting creeped out by them, because they're like, wow, it's actually happening. And again, like it is this pandemic situation and the occurrence of martial law worldwide in different areas, including in America in many occasions, like that was pretty surreal for me, and I'm sure for a lot of you guys, like everybody that's been anticipating, that move, like the government to take that move and that overreach. We knew it was coming, and it's kind of bizarre to consider that here we are now, life's gone on. We're still just talking. And it's almost like I haven't forgotten everything that's happened, but it's like, man, like it's really here now. Like we're in the reality now where the lockdowns and the martial law and this thing has been expressed. The stage has been set. The precedent has been made. Here's something I threw in there because, all right. So right now, like 1995, the flat earth, the fake moon landings, NASA being connected to conspiracy theories. Again, that goes way back too. But you couldn't deny that right now we're in this time where, like, particularly with the flat earth thing, this has become like front and center. And it's interesting because if you read this flat earth card, it says people laugh, but the flat earthers know something. For their action, you may roll 2 dice, and then it goes on. But it says they know something, right? And then let me tell you something about this. This is not the episode to get into it because it's way too deep. I'm not going to come right out there and tell you I'm a flat earther. I don't know the shape of our earth. What I will say quickly, and again, it's something that is so deep, I don't even know if I should delve all the way into it. But you know what? I have no confidence at all that the shape of our Earth is what NASA says that it is. We got plenty of reason, actually a multitude of reasons, to not trust what comes out of NASA, right? And not just to mention that, though, but as Christians, it's like, how does the Bible describe the heavens and earth, right? And how does and like Earth being a footstool, and like God being, like literally He creates the heavens, right? And where is heaven is in the heavens, and then the earth, right? And then it's like, consider if you're a Christian, right? Because most Christians, like they'll look at this, and by the way, even just this picture of flat earth, right? That's not what the Bible describes. It's not like you can fall off the edge of it, right? But what the Bible does describe is that the sun is a greater light by day, and the moon is a lesser light by night, and the way that the Bible describes earth is as if all of creation was designed, for earth, really for God, but for earth, with man being made in His image, right? And then what happens is that here we are in modern times, and science has come along, sometime around the same time as science was telling us that we all came from apes, and that evolution was a thing. Well, they were also telling us, yeah, and by the way, not only are you just animals that don't have souls that evolved from, some weird, amoeba, gunk growing on a rock that turned into a fish, that turned into a frog, that turned into a monkey, that turned into a person. Not only that, but also you're just on this one tiny little planet, like in a vast, vast, vast universe. That's just one of many universes, just filled with planets that most likely have all types of life, right? So from the Christian standpoint, from the biblical standpoint, we know the biblical truth of creation, and you don't need to even research it. All you need to do is look around. Like Ray Comfort says, right? If you look at a beautiful painting, how do you know that there was a painter? Well, because a beautiful painting isn't going to paint itself, right? Well, now compare that to creation or to reality, right? You're going to tell me that like random chance and circumstance happen just to, randomly explode into this completely dynamic, beautiful, spiritually rich, physically, abundant, like logical creation. It just makes no sense. Oh, like intelligent design is the only thing that makes sense of the world that we've actually inherited, right? So I say all that to say this, right? So what's the purpose then of creating and then pushing a, evolution agenda? Well, it's to hide God, and it's to diminish the importance of us actually being created, right? It's like, it's to, it goes into humanism. And like, so now consider outer space and everything you've learned about outer space. And I could go on, if you haven't ever looked into like the moon landings to see, and the fact that they sent like a little tinfoil box, like back in the 60s up to the moon. But now in 2022, they say, well, we can't do it anymore because we destroyed the technology that we had back then. And it would be a painful process to rebuild it. And if you don't believe me that NASA said that, just YouTube Don Petit, DONPETIT moon. It'll probably pop up. But I'm just saying all that to get to this, right? Like the concept that Earth is just one of millions of planets that could have life, and that we are just like, just floating around in this big, giant, meaningless vacuum of the universe. Well, that is conducive to the attitude of fatalism, or that there is no God, that humans are just again, that we're just these pointless creatures, that your life therefore has no real spiritual significance. Also, Jesus, like you're telling me that God sent His Son to die for man, just one creature on one random planet. And there's a lot of Christians out there that wonder that, because they believe in the outer space. So they believe in like aliens and stuff. And they're like, well, what if how could Jesus, like, what would He do for these other races out there on different planets, you know, and their spiritual state and all that. In fact, the Vatican has even officially made the statement that if aliens come down to Earth, that they'll baptize them, that they'll be our space brothers, right? That's for real too. Look that up as well. And I got to move on to the next card. But speaking about all this stuff, it's really all been building apart from all that, apart from introducing. It's just like evolution. Think of evolution. If you're a Christian, do you believe in evolution? Are you willing to? Do you truly believe that the entire world is participating in a global? There I go using the word global. No, that the entire world is participating in a worldwide conspiracy to claim that man evolved from apes, knowing darn well that it's not actually true. I believe that's the case. Every church I've ever gone to has preached that to be the case, that evolution is like a false teaching that's propagated by a satanic world, right? And they're willing to accept that reality. But for some reason, they just like stop it right there. And they're not willing to extend that same acknowledgement and understanding to all these other agendas that we've clearly been under the shadow of for a long time. I believe outer space being one of them, or any other so-called scientific thing that can't be easily proven by yourself that ends up diminishing the role of man, you know, in creation. So I say all that to say this too, that it's all leading to this staged alien invasion that's going to be coming soon. That's not real. And you can, we're going to definitely be talking about that too, but a topic that was floated by Bill Cooper and has been resonated by all types of credible people that would know, even all the way down to, you know, the first topic that really got me into all this like conspiracy stuff was honestly the UFO thing. It was like, I was not a Christian, right? I was open-minded. And I believed that, well, you know, since I bought into at that point, evolution and outer space and like all, you know, I was just like this liberal, you know, I believed what I was told. Well, at that time, like, you know what? I just kind of lost my track of thought because I'm going too deep into this. I'll tell you what. One of the next few episodes, we're going to get into this space thing. It's controversial. I'm going to lose a couple subscribers. That's been happening a little bit here and there lately, but I'm coming out of that closet, you guys. All right. Now I try to keep this show like centered in like easily provable, relatively grounded and based kind of stuff. Because again, I'm reaching out to an unbelieving world, as well as I'm reaching out to like the more skeptical of the believers in terms of like my fellow Christians that should understand and know this stuff, but have never taken it seriously. But you know, it's actually a really big one. And I think that you've already seen the, you know, you've seen aliens and this kind of UFO stuff popping up in the news at like at a government level lately quite a bit. So I think that this fake invasion is actually going to happen soon enough. And remember, like all it takes to pull off a fake invasion is for the news to show you some footage. You know, you don't got to see anything. If the news is saying, oh, this is happening over here, here's the pictures, then we all go for it. And what does that mean? Well, clearly there's not a God like that created man in his image and Jesus coming back if there's aliens that are smarter than us on another planet, right? Not only that, clearly it's necessary to have a one world government and to have, you know, a worldwide government. Yeah. I got to say global. That's what it's called, a global government at that point, right? Because now no longer are we separated by the borders of our puny countries and our little, you know, countries. Like no longer is it my country versus your country. Now we're all united under the umbrella of humanity because there's a greater force, a threat from outside this planet, right? And so now, and I'm just telling you, look up this as well. I wasn't able to put it in the stream. Look up Ronald Reagan's speech about aliens coming, right? And he says the same thing. He says, I sometimes think that if aliens were to come, or however he words it, you know, that we would put away our petty differences and we'd all be able to unite as one. And you can start to look deeper into that and you'll start getting into all this literature and stuff like coming from actual think tanks and the actual CIA. Go into Project Bluebeam, you know, and look at Project Bluebeam, look up that as well. And you'll just start seeing this breadcrumb trail, right? That leads to, because you'll see the concept brought up in various and strange places of how an alien threat would be a great justification to push and move forward with, like, you know, this so-called global government. Now we see the pandemic doing a lot for that, but I'm telling you, they're going to do the whole darn thing. Yeah, Project Bluebeam. See, Commander Zeus is on it. So that's coming, you guys. I'm going to move on from these cards, but I just ranted and ranted. It's an episode that when I do this, when we cover this, it's going to be a doozy. Again, it was the topic of aliens and UFOs that kind of pulled me into this world, you know, because I started reading through all these actual real life government documents that were declassified and stuff. And I became acquainted with the nature of, like, government secrecy, only to research deep enough to come out on the other end and understand that even the very so-called government cover-up was itself a cover-up. They want you to believe in a cover-up. It's all been, like, planted to make you expect aliens. That's going to be another episode. But anyways, you know, here's the cards. Another thing that was just more funny back in 1995 than it is now. We're already almost through with this slideshow. Amber's back here, but the show's going to be done pretty soon. But that was because as I got through these slides, it just, these cards, it occurred to me that unfortunately there will have to be one third and final episode of this series, the Illuminati card series, just because there's just too much to cover. So I think there's like two or three more of these slides. And like I said, we'll revisit this topic one last time, and then we'll move on to something else. Maybe even take a break before the next one. But anyways, here's just a few cards I pulled up because, yeah, get on here. Amber's here now, babe. So Commander Zeus, I think that's Zeus, unless I'm supposed to pronounce it Zeus. I don't know. Here, Amber, let me do this real quick so we can see. For whatever reason, the blur targets Amber.
I know.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, me too, Commander. It was Bill Cooper that really woke me up to that. And it was interesting about Bill Cooper, back to this alien outer space thing. But it's that, you know, Bill Cooper first came to prominence because he believed in this stuff, you know, and he was like a prominent UFO, you know, they're called ufologists. But, you know, he was somebody that was like a respected and credible source that was promoting the reality of this alien UFO agenda. And that's because when he was in the Navy, he claimed that he saw these documents that literally proved and, like, just blatantly disclosed the reality of that there's these alien bodies, and the stuff from Roswell was real and all that. And Bill Cooper himself went on, and he wrote about that. He even put part of it, I think, in Behold a Pale Horse. But he went on to turn around and say that he later on, after learning more about the New World Order, kind of the same thing as what's happened to me as well. He came to understand, and then went on to further validate through more information, that actually it was going to be a fake alien invasion. And he was looking back in hindsight, and even those documents that he saw when he was a naval officer, he believes that they wanted him to see, because, like, they wanted to perpetuate this concept that there was a cover-up, and they wanted to do it for generations. So that's why all the way back in, like, the 80s, you know, like, people were seeing these UFOs and the government was saying, no, you didn't see anything, and, like, all the ridicule and all that. They wanted, again, to perpetuate this notion of that the government was covering up a reality about UFOs and aliens, because in reality, there weren't aliens. There were demons and angels, but they already knew that the government, that people don't trust the government, right? And, like, it's just this 4D chess, like everything else, but it was intentional, and that's why now, like, you put that alongside of all the movies, the sci-fi and all that, and it's like we've been so conditioned to, like, for, like, this coming alien invasion, that, like, what's going to happen if so what if I'm wrong? Like, what about when the rapture comes? That's a better way to word it. I don't know exactly when it happens, but what about when Jesus comes back, right? Like, how do you think that the world and media is going to couch that? I think they're prepared for it. You know, the Bible talks about, like, fireballs coming from the sky and the tides rising and waves crashing. So they got us all believing global warming is about to attack. And then the Bible tells us that like people are literally going to ascend into heaven, and that there's going to be a war between angels and demons in the skies, right? So they tell us about aliens, and it's almost like they've like there's already this like pre-packaged like fake presentation for when the big final battle actually happens, for the world to be misconstrued into perceiving it as something different than what's actually happening. You know, I know I'm talking, maybe I said that in a really wordy kind of way. But anyway, so yeah, and I threw this in here because it just kind of, I'll tell you why in a second, but whistleblowers, here you got this like media chick. She's literally blowing a whistle. She works for the media. This guy's hiding under the desk, exposed, you know, and you got some guy getting recorded, and scandal. And it just made me think of like, you got your Project Veritas, the Me Too movement. And by the way, I'm not against Project Veritas, or I'm not against people being exposed. However, I will say that let's use as a benchmark the Me Too movement, because I think that happened in 2019, which led into the 2020 pandemic and everything like this systematic censorship that's been going on. I don't know where to draw the line, or where or what is or what isn't, you know, staged or part of it, or I don't know. But I think if you consider it from the aspect of you know, social control, for lack of better words, you can see how just like the march, just like we talked about with the last episode, like, you know, Donald Trump's character of, you know, riling people up alongside of Joe Biden and this intentionally over the top liberal agenda designed to get people on the right pissed off, like mixed with, you know, we put in the Pizzagate thing, which was also referenced in these cards, you know, to sow even more distrust and anger and hatred between the people and the government. There was so much about this, like just like the martial law stuff we just saw. Well, I frankly believe a lot of these whistleblowers and stuff coming out right now, and it being as big as it is, it could just be a naturally occurring thing. That makes sense. Everyone's got cameras now, but you know, these cards are playing it out like it's part of their fictional Illuminati agenda, and I believe it is actually a part of the agenda. Again, they actually don't want us to trust. I believe that it's intentional for Brian Seltzer and these like CNN people to be such dopes. I think like behind the scenes, like, and same with Biden, like, and same with George Bush back when I was younger, you know, like these people aren't really dumb, and like, it's not really like that. Like, it's all about getting us. They want us to rebel. They want us to revolt. They want to create a justification for this. Okay. So, yeah, this is the last one, babe. And then we'll talk to him real quick. So yeah, they put me in there too. Me and Amber, this is us. Crusade, conspiracy theorists, and New World Order, end of the world. Here you got your Christian zombie guy saying, repent. Conspiracy theorist guy's going crazy. He's like, you know, all roads lead to the Illuminati. And then Crusade, nuns for fun, God ain't odd, zombies for Jesus. So I put that in kind of as a joke, but I mean, they are really cards in the thing. And frankly, this really is part of it as well. Now that we're in this time where you're watching all these signs unfold, you're going to see, and you already are seeing, a whole lot of false teachings, false prophets, and you're going to watch a lot of so-called fake satanic Christian ministries that are going to capitalize on the things that are going on right now, the end times, the wars, the rumors of wars, the pestilences, the famines, and all that. Apart from just the media fanning the flames, like, it's sad, but this is a time where, you know, I think of who's the dude that sells the giant buckets of food for the end times. What's his name? Jim Baker. You know, the guy that was in that giant scandal back in the day. But Jim Baker, the dude Sid Roth from It's Supernatural, you know, all these guys that are using the real fulfillment of real Bible prophecies, and they're using it to like suck you into their, you know, little cult worlds. It's just a time to watch out. I'll tell you how you can figure out a very easy way, and what the Bible actually says, how you can determine between when somebody's talking about this kind of stuff, when you're dealing with some conspiracy theorist or crusader or a guy like me that's a Christian that's trying to tell you about what you're seeing around you and what the Bible says. Just, you know, the Bible says to test every spirit against the word to know whether or not it's true, and if it comes from the Holy Spirit, right? So that's all it really comes down to. It's sad how easy it's sad that the vast majority of people are sheep, and it's sad that there's so many wolves in sheep's clothing that are willing to deceive people and to literally use Christ and the gospel as a means to deceive and to exploit people. But it's a reality, and the Bible warns us about it. Okay, but all it would take you to determine and distinguish, between, or discern, I guess, between what's actually of God and what's not, is just to compare it to what the Bible says. Okay, I've said it a million times, and I stand by it. And one thing I take pride in, I think you can go through any of our videos on our channel, and you'll see that even the craziest conspiracies we get into, well, guess what? It's all founded in what the Bible says is coming. That's why it's not off, like every episode I mentioned our chipped documentary, but from the idea of the microchips, to the one world government, to one world currency, to martial law, to beheadings and guilt, like the craziest stuff we'll ever talk about. Guess what? It doesn't come from InfoWars. It doesn't come from, some tinfoil hat, comic book, alien, sci-fi, X-Files stuff. Dude, it's the Bible. Okay. And we mentioned this before, but the term conspiracy theory has been weaponized, and Bible prophecy has been readdressed as conspiracy theory to this fallen world. Yeah, dude, I'm glad I got you, Commanders. It's the weirdest thing, dude. This show was supposed to, it's at its arranged time, but for some reason YouTube was saying it was going to start an hour later. And it's just too bad, because I know there were these people that wanted to watch it. I think are going to tune in now that it's ending. But dude, I'm really glad you're here, dude. I don't remember seeing you on here before. Yeah. But it's great to have you, dude. But yeah, so that's the last little slide I put in there, but that's part of it too. This is definitely a time to be vigilant, and you need to have spiritual discernment. You're going to be hearing a lot of stuff, as this thing progresses even further. A lot of it will be disguised as biblical truth, and it could trick you if you're not, if you're not in the Word. I ran out of time again. We will do one final episode on this topic. Thanks for joining us, Tim. All right. So, Amber, you missed most of the party, as did most of our usual viewers.
I know.
Just this, and again, it's nothing against who's here. But man, what a disappointment that I don't know what.
I wasn't here, right, guys?
I think it's because Amber missed out on this one, so people probably tuned in and they were like, "Oh, what's the point of watching this? There's no Amber." But no, I also think it was just that weird YouTube glitch. But I hope you guys catch this, afterwards, after the fact. I'm sorry we didn't get to chat with too many people tonight. But I hope you enjoyed that slideshow. And I do got a few. Don't go yet. I got to show you two more things. Oh, thanks, bro. Yeah, do come back. We do this every other week. I think I might. I'm not going to say it right now. But in the next 2 weeks or so. Well, so in 2 weeks from now, we're going to do our next show. We might make it again on this Illuminati topic to finish it off, but I might want to do it on something else. I might put out some stuff in between. I just don't know. A final apology to everybody that's watching this later that didn't get to hang out with us in the chats. Me and Amber, and there's also there's so much stuff going on in our life that I kind of wanted to talk to people about, but maybe we should just put that off till next time too.
How crazy our life is.
Just how crazy our life is, the
I'm sure
new responsibilities that we've inherited.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll still be crazy next time we're on.
Yeah, so you guys, I hope that we can come back on sooner than later. For those of you who got to see before, we had the Joe Biden addressed Fallen World Films recently, which was really unexpected, and I don't have that video, but check that out. Look it up yourself. Joe Biden actually responded to a question that we asked him. And I was glad to show you that we finally got that sponsor now, Sight Shield. Now, all of these great things are the result of me coming across a great website called Fiverr.com, where you can purchase awesome services from artists, like things like voiceovers and stuff like that. And I've been having a lot of fun with it. And I decided that since we only got our boy Captain or Commander Zeus in the comments, since something weird happened with this live stream, but we still had fun together, I'm going to give him a special treat. and whoever watches this later. And we're going to watch this last thing I'm working on, this last little ad for Fallen World Films. It's going to be edited slightly before I put it out later this week. And we'll be back soon, guys. So thanks for those of you who did join. What can I say? Hopefully next time we pop on, maybe next week. I always want to say that, but as you know, we're at least promising every other week, but we'll do what we can. But in the meantime, we hope you guys take care of yourselves. Say your prayers. Sorry you missed out on Amber, but what can I say? I love her. She's my wife. I'm just so excited we're gonna get to hang out a little bit tonight.
I know. I haven't had a Friday night off in I don't even know how long. I always work Friday night. Yeah,
it's been a long time. All right, you guys. So somebody, a fan out there, one of our biggest supporters, sent in this video that he wanted us to show, just like a little ad for the channel that he made out of appreciation for what we do here. So just one of our listeners, his name is Morgan. But anyways, I'm just going to show this, and we'll see you next time we hop on. You guys take care of yourself. Say your prayers. We love you. Bye-bye.
I will never forget the first time I watched Tales from the Fallen World with Tim and Amber. It was, for me, a life-changing experience. Now, I'm not easily persuaded by all that hocus-pocus, mambo-jumbo, sensational headlines, and conspiracy theory. I am simply a man who calls it like I see it. But as a world-class celebrity, I have unfortunately seen more than I care to admit. Human clones. The Illuminati. The Mark of the Beast. I'm sorry to inform you that these things exist. Now, I don't regard myself to be wise, but it seems to me that when all of humanity stands in the face of an evil force, we would do well to support the efforts of the brave individuals who stand against it. This is why I support the good work being done at Fallen World Films. So please subscribe, like, and share these videos. Let's help this fine young couple to spread their message. Because if we don't turn this thing around soon, our children will inherit less freedoms than the Shawshank State Prison. Take it from me, a guy who sounds like Morgan Freeman.